Oh, this'll do a little bit early indeed, and it could go all day. This is going to be possibly the biggest show that TGC has ever done. We're talking about all the things that have happened, and a bit's gone on since we last convened here on the internet. We're talking Justin Langer. We're talking about that huge series, Australia and Sri Lanka, Anderson and Broad, Australian women's cricket, New Zealand, South Africa, Indian cricket, the IPL, Tim David, what? Australia and Pakistan, the guests, Sam Perry. We've got Waqar Younis. We're talking with Travis Head. We're talking with Alex Blackwell. And I, Ian Higgins, am talking to Sam Perry, but not before we thank our dear friends at Budgie Smuggler, because this show is presented to you by Custom Swimwear, by Budgie Smuggler, because it's all made in Australia. Pezzy, lad, how have you been?
Mate, I've been well. To the questions that have been out there, yes, I have gone Troppo. I'm up in the Northern Territory. I don't know what it means to go Troppo, but I'm it. I look across my window. Guys are installing air conditioners. We had to prepare for a cyclone over the weekend that never eventuated. I'm sort of talking out the side of my mouth. I have a laksa on a Saturday morning because of Southeast Asia ties. Was in the NT News during the week. I got kit shamed for having an Impala bat in 2007. I apologise to everybody for not foreshadowing the Instagram comments 15 years later when I got that Impala bat. And other than that, mate, I'm pumped up for the show, which is going to be long and indulgent because there's a lot to catch up on.
When you bought that bat 15 years ago, Instagram didn't exist, and so how were you to know? How were you to know that you would be kit shamed, even though, like, at the time, many international players literally had that bat? Pez, let's just do a quick catch up. So obviously, Pez is in the Northern Territory at the moment. We're not going to be apart for the duration of Pez's time in Northern Territory. In fact, we'll say this right at the top, where we'll be doing a live stream together here in Melbourne on Friday night for the second session. Why the second session? Don't worry about it. But the second session of day one, first test match, Pakistan and Australia, right here on YouTube. Unless, of course, you're listening to us on Spotify, so you're going to have to go to a different platform, unfortunately for you. Pez, are you having a good time? Are you having a good time sort of just breathing in the cricket? We tried to take a break, but then all this shit went down, you know?
Yeah, I'm having a good time. And again, to those out there who've asked us to explain the Russia-Ukraine situation in grade terms, probably won't. Probably trivialises it. Okay, yeah. I mean, Ukraine are working hard. Looks like they're getting through to lunch. Got to say, and glory to the Ukraine. You've got your hands over your face. Was that inappropriate? I say that out of respect. Mate, every day he's 32 degrees, and I enjoyed your updates from your trip to the USA, which you might fill us in on, sort of 30 to 60 seconds or so. Because for those who followed online, mate, there was some headlines though. There was LeBron, Super Bowl, New York. What are we looking at?
Yeah. Yeah, well, I mean, for those who are actually interested, you can join us on Patreon, patreon.com/Great Cricketer. We'll be discussing it on hashtag AskTGC Fridays, episode 79. I'm just an ad guy now. So we went into it in more depth there. But yeah, I was at the Super Bowl and I saw the things, and it was fucking awesome. Yeah. It was fucking awesome, man. Don't remember a lot, if I'm honest. Tipped a few in. The side of my mouth.
Of course, yeah.
A lot of Americans say, "Why do you drink like that?" Well, it's like, well, I'm talking to you in the same direction. Yeah. Don't look me in the eye. It's very disconcerting, Joe. Mate, those SoCal flies, you know how big they can get. Yeah, mate. It was nice to have a break from the cricket, despite people, whilst I was literally at the Super Bowl, saying, "Mate, what are your thoughts on Tim David's auction price?" Couldn't give a fuck, lads. If I'm honest, could not give a fuck.
Mate, that halftime entertainment was unbelievable. Yeah. Like I bet so many people took it in the way I did, which was just like by themselves in a lonely apartment or something. Maybe not overlooking a Timor Sea, but I think it was so captivating and compelling. I was just standing there bopping like a real white guy. With hips, like, my hips move okay, but
you got some hips on him.
Yeah, and it was amazing to watch it. Thinking, Higgos is there. At the footy.
Yeah, I just went to the footy on the weekend. Bit of Sunday Arvo footy. It was nice. Okay, in the meantime, Pez, now people want us to tackle the big things because a lot has happened. No more so than the every week guy committing a mancad.
Thank you for starting
to win a game in Melbourne Grade Cricket. Let's get to the key issues that people are talking about at the water cooler. So, Pez, do you want to explain who the every week guy is?
Well, like viewers of the show, listeners to the show, people who are generally on social media would have seen. They would have seen news. I'm not sure which came first. I think it was a guy called Chris Thoulis. I know that's his name in my head. Hit sort of 230 or something in a one day. Was that right? Off like 80 rocks.
Yeah. Was it more than that?
Sorry.
Yeah, something like
60
that,
off 80, whatever. It was stick cricket stuff. And he'll appreciate it. Let's call it 360. But I'm not sure which came first because the ball before his dismissal, he skied one long off or something, and the catch was dropped. You can't see the catch dropping, but you can hear it being dropped, which I'd argue is more is actually a bigger sensory experience than seeing it dropped. Yeah. And the bowler says, yells out every week a few times, quite animatedly. Now, a couple of weeks later, I start getting these texts from people on the ground of a player who has effected 2 run-outs, colloquially known as Mankads, the last one to win the game. And I thought I recognised the shirt. I was like, hang on. Hang on, is that Kingston Hawthorn? Second grade? You know how we all do that. And I thought I recognised the character who did it. And sure enough, it was confirmed. It was the same guy as the every week guy. And it caused, as grade cricket should, a good couple of days of the news cycle trying to work out, was this ethically correct? Because like the whole scene, particularly of the second Mankad, I'm calling it that, was just perfect. Like the wicket was taken. There was a bit of confusion. The captain appears to come in from the side, adamant that that he's upholding the appeal. The umpire asks the captain if he'd like to uphold the appeal, which he doesn't need to do. The captain does so. A couple of Kingston Hawthorn blokes absolutely lose it in celebration.
Oh, giving it fucking a
giving
deluxe.
It everything. That's a hell of a team song, whatever you think about the ethics. And you can hear people in the background going, oh, he hasn't really done that, has he? And, And then it turns out that every week guy, it's reported that he went to the judiciary on other charges and misdemeanors, and he's received something in the order of like 6 to 8 weeks for very clearly other misdemeanors. Not the run out, which is just him playing according to the laws of the game. I think it's a bad law personally, but it's the law that's the problem. It's not the player. He's allowed to play according to the laws. I think there should be effigies outside Lords because of the law, but that's a separate issue at the moment.
I've only seen the second one where they win the game with it, and the fucking
you didn't see that. Yeah, took a while for the first video to come through.
Yeah, mate. I wasn't sure if I was at the back at Mona Vale somewhere, just riding those waves back there. And then you could also hear like the murmurs, like the people around the cameras being like, "Well, I'm not sure about this." I can see the bloke's shorts like in my head. Like I recognize the shorts and the thongs of that guy who's saying, "Oh, I'm not sure about this." Like it's fucking some old footy shorts. Definitely in the category of bit going on. And what's he like as a bloke? But he's won a game. He's won a game for his team.
6 points,
and that'll be 6 points in a song. I mean, that's what we're all playing for. So I guess good luck to him and enjoy his time on the sidelines. Other people that enjoy their time on the sidelines, Justin Langer.
Oh God.
How's that for a segue? Okay, so in the meantime, lots has happened, obviously, all across the world, but I feel like the one that's dominated the headlines for the most part was that Justin Langer his contract wasn't renewed, and so he was offered a 6-month extension, wasn't he? And then he decided to not accept that and walk away. And that was a very small part of the story, and the bigger part of the story was the generational discussions about is it me that's wrong? No, it can't be. It's the children. And it was just... say what you want about the ex-players, and I will. there's something really satisfying about them getting their backs arced up and they're, no, we're the good guys.
Oh, yeah.
We're the good guys. How can you wrong us like this? Unfortunately, who they were going against is the current team. So that was it felt a bit Australia A gear. And once again, I was going for Australia A. So, not a great period for a lot of people who kind of embarrassed themselves, unfortunately. And, mate, it sucks. It's, It was, yeah, I felt embarrassed. I felt embarrassed that like the amount of former players were just fucking absolutely piling into the current Australian team who in my opinion have had complete dignified silence. And that's also part of the problem. I feel like it's part of the problem I'm just going to monologue now, Pez, sorry. But like part of the problem is that like the ex-players are all like, this is just a disgrace. Look at the results and how can you do this to one of our Hall of Famers? How can you do that? And the current players haven't said anything. So like, unless you have heard stories directly from them, it's a bit like, yeah, why are they doing this? But then that's the point. Why would they do this?
Yeah, and like, I thought that was a good monologue, and I don't think I'm ever going to judge you for monologues. But I mean, like so much of the episode focused on the ethics of the behaviour in the, in the Langer episode, and the truth is that, well, I believe the truth to be that the players did say things throughout the entirety, as in they approached Cricket Australia many times throughout Langer's tenure, expressing very clearly their view and their preference. They also did it directly as well. And it appeared that regardless of the way they tried to do it, it was wrong. And there were people who were going to criticise it regardless. Like, first things first, as you say, like alphas are going to alpha, and it was just alphas going to alpha, and it was alphas are going to alpha, and there was fucking alphas at two paces. It was beautiful, like, I mean, they say the sociologists are going to be kept in employment because of COVID for the next 20, 30 years at least. Well, I think the same thing with this, but like, like whatever you think of the ethics of the behaviour of how Justin Langer departed, I think his position was clearly untenable from August last year at the latest. Yeah. And everything afterwards was a bizarre psychodrama where there was people just dabbling in dark arts to claim good guy status to win the affections of the public. And that's where you observe the kind of Australia versus Australia A thing. Who is the team? Who has the most respect of the public? And I love that it's actually a question because, us as kids were like, well, it's like Succession. I can never say no to daddy, like, what do you, like, and like, but I just liked that. I mean, first, this is done now, they still to announce a new coach and whatever. But like, suddenly players, I thought it was really strange that suddenly players were starting to get scrutinised for an endorsement of Langer. Like, I've never seen this clamour for an endorsement in cricket before. Like they were US senators ahead of a presidential election. Endorsements became a thing, and like then there were these efforts to cast Langer's departure as an inside job. Like it just seemed to me like Langer's teammates, from 1993 to 2002 inclusive, were like just started to cosplay their time in the cordon. You just had like Warne and fucking Big Doss and Mardo and even Punter, a little bit more measured in his comments, but Steve Waugh just was a big old cordon just having a crack. And
yeah, fucking felt good, didn't it?
Oh, it did. It's like, man, look at these blokes, they're at it again. And
the band's back.
The band's back. I just thought that like the players actually did respect Langer's position the whole time, despite having a pretty reasonable view. It's just that when they went through the channels that they, thought were respectful to go through, they weren't listened to. And JL was just hanging on to that job for dear life, as he's entitled to, in full knowledge that he didn't have players' support. He knew. And I thought that was strange, but he's built that way. And then it started getting really grim when every piece of like critique or criticism you might have wanted to offer about Justin Langer, the cricket coach, needed to commence with like a like commendation of him as a player. It was like, and actually all of them, well, great player, great servant of the game. Okay, it's like you needed to like kiss the ring, before you were able to say anything. So I thought it was a strange thing. And then then you got other players like using their like accounts to troll and like then you got
a couple of burners out there.
Couple of burners out there, which are great, and saying only the players.
I've got 20 test hundreds, but I've got 20 burners. Don't worry about that.
Then like, mate, I got Damien Martin telling me only the players know. Then I look at his Facebook stories, and he's out on the beach, saying, "Look, my Wednesday wisdom is to get out into the water and swim with blue bottles," and that's It was a pretty rich episode, I thought. And you know what, he goes, I actually think that for what it's worth and all of the like the mockery or whatever, like I think there's a path back for Langer. Like this is a big call down the track in the Australian cricket team. I think coaching goes in and out, like fashions come in and out. They always rebalance the coach based on who was before. They want to go for a more relaxed person now. And, Lehman took over Mickey Arthur in similar circumstances. They needed a new style, and there's nothing to say that there won't be another clamour for a more disciplined, hard coach in the future. If JL goes over to England or any other country and helps them and succeeds, he's walked away from this job largely being understood in Australia as like the guy who saved Australian cricket culturally, which can be debated, but that's what people think.
Sure.
I think there's every chance if he does another good job somewhere else that later he comes back and maybe he'll do the 10, 20 years that he wants to do.
Yeah, possibly. I suppose fundamentally, the only other example I can think of quite clearly where the breakdown between the players and the coach was Greg Chappell in India, which was like 10 years ago now. And I don't even know the details of that, of that falling out, but you see it all the time in especially football circles. I'm talking about soccer, like Premier League stuff. Like you see it less in rugby. I see a little bit in sort of contact sports like that. But fundamentally, like if you lose, this was like a losing of the dressing room, and I've never seen that in cricket before. Like the Mickey Arthur thing, there was a bit of it, but this was just a clear losing of the dressing room. And it's like, well, what are you supposed to do then? It's just the relationship is broken down. You're going to break up. You're looking at a couple and you're like, these guys are fighting a lot. They're having a lot of therapy sessions and they don't really want to be together. They're just staying together for the kids. And the kids was the Ashes. And now the kids have moved out of home. And I've lost this analogy somewhere. But, my point being is that these guys were going to break up. There was just a breakup was going to happen. So
they were putting on a brave face for the kids during the Ashes. I think that's true. And you're right. Like, what are the players meant to do if their view is that they want another coach? So it seemed that some people were suggesting that that they shut up and listen to the authorities. But I just as the last thing I'll say, I just thought it was actually quite a rational, naked power game. Not that everyone was naked, that would be interesting too. But like it was just different actors, rational actors had different levels of power, and they coordinated accordingly. And now there's going to be a new coach. I actually think that if the Australian cricket team wanted a new coach, then it's pretty hard to say no to that. And I think they're entitled to be trusted. There's a lot of senior guys in there now.
Yeah. In the meantime, there was a white ball series apparently against Sri Lanka. Pez, I was in the United States of America. Didn't catch much, if I'm honest. And if I had been in Australia, I would have been actually the majority there as well, because not many people were watching that series. I think there was like the last game had 15,000 in the MCG, something like that. The entire Great Southern Stand was closed because there was not enough tickets sold. No interest. Cricket in February. I know Sri Lanka is struggling, not a great outfit, but pretty grim.
Yeah.
Pretty grim. Anything good happen?
Yeah. well, firstly, that 15,000, I think that was the biggest crowd of the series of the 5 games, and Australia won 4-1. Good, that's just enough of a decimation to keep me feeling safe and everybody else. And that was a consolation loss at the end as well. 2 things I want to pick up. One, Aaron Finch's eyes may not work anymore. I say may not work. There's concern, and there also appears to there's a lot of players backing him as well, which you'd understand. I hope I'm wrong about that and that there is a comeback coming, but people will say he won the World Cup with the Australian cricket team. That's right, he was captain, but people were concerned about his form then as well. I think the team will need to continually evolve, and they shouldn't be afraid to keep improving the team. And then the second thing about the series was Shane Warne and Mark Waugh's commentary. That was the second thing, and look, I still haven't made up my mind about whether they are plumbing new depths for quality or whether their friendship is actually really endearing and it's actually quite entertaining. I really flip. I really do. And probably the highlight was, and this person won't appreciate me saying this, but there was a highlight where Mark Waugh mixed up names. He was trying to refer to Glenn Maxwell, but he accidentally said Neil Maxwell, who played for New South Wales and Victoria, and he was captain of our cricket club, and he does some management of players, right? Or by proxy. And Mark Waugh referred to Glenn Maxwell as Neil Maxwell, and Shane Warne said Glenn Maxwell's a lot better bloke. And I just thought that was a... I know, Neil, I wouldn't say that, but I just thought that's the first time I've ever heard a commentator just blithely shit on the character of somebody else, like just without any fear. And it's just a reminder that it's all a big pyramid. You got 7 or 8 wickets up the top, and it just goes down from there. I just thought, wow, that's just. Well, Neil Maxwell's on the board of Cricket New South Wales and all that kind of thing, and he's been great with us as well. He's very helpful. I think he's a good guy. But anyway, that were the 2 things that stood out to me about that series, mate. Finch's eyes and Warne's commentary.
Hey, that's I obviously didn't hear that, but actually I know because you sent that to me. But it's fucking wild. That's wild.
Have you ever heard that before?
He also just said, no, I've never heard that before. It's kind of amazing if I'm honest. But there's also proves to me, and you've said this before many times, there's 6 good cricketers ever. Is there even 6? There's probably 3.
No way.
There's probably 3. Mate, Mark Waugh is obviously, for us, just one of our idols. Just that age and the elegance and the sweatband and the whip off the pads, the cover drive, all of it.
The whole thing.
But how quickly can you go, average 40?
To be fair to June in that situation, he was a little bit more diplomatic and I think surprised. But and that was just one example. Mate, people could write in 20 other examples of where you're like, should my jaw be dropping at listening to what this is, or is it kind of funny in its own way? Yeah. And it is each to their own. I think. And, then you just go, good players. Good players.
How many fucking test wickets do you get?
Exactly.
Speaking of test wickets, Pez, Anderson abroad, axed. Axed. You can't just be dropped, you have to be axed. That's right. Has to be bodily mutilation involved.
Okay.
Joe Root has said that's not the end of the road for Stewart and Jimmy. But you know what? The lads aren't happy. And, it's a lot of test wickets. And many times, Stuart Broad in particular, Anderson less so. Stuart Broad's been very vocal for probably 7 years about we can score, we can take as many wickets or we change bowling attack as much as we like, but if we're not getting any runs. And that's a really good point, and it's true. I can't help but feel like their axing has nothing to do with their record, but if you keep publicly denigrating the team, that must just be creating this really negative environment. I'm completely guessing. I have no information about this, but I'm just why would you drop 1,200 test wickets or whatever? It has to be they are so negative and toxic in the dressing room or something along those lines that they are actually making the team worse. And I understand that a bit. If you're Hasib Hamid and you're in Australia and you've got your premier fast bowling going our batters are shit. You could say that privately, but when it becomes public, and like as I said, this isn't like a one series off thing. Like this has been happening for ages. I don't know. Am I far off for that? What do you think?
I think they should have picked them, and I think that it was particularly like provocative call given that it's been made by like an interim setup. So they're going to the West Indies, and there's some suggestion that they're that they'll be back involved in the summer. So there's some sort of icing thing, and also that then creates another question about why are the West Indies being relegated here? Like the West, I don't think England are great shakes for this series. So what you've often said this, like why is the next series more important than the current one? So Broad and Anderson, they help you win games significantly, and if you're not scoring a lot of runs, it does help to have bowlers that limit other runs from the other team. Anyway, just getting into the real basics of cricket there. And if it is
both teams bat twice, right?
Yeah, and you take the second new ball after 80 overs. Venkatesh Prasad was sort of telling us once. That's a niche. So it's either like I take your point, like. And it doesn't seem to be given a lot of weight. This, like when you press people who would know better than us, and we don't have anything on the inside with England. It doesn't really carry a lot of weight that they may be adjudged to be too disruptive internally. But with your own eyes, you see like Stuart Broad writing articles mid-Test match at Adelaide, defending tactics that the captain later admits weren't his. And weren't the captains, or that the captain disagreed with. That's just one example. Broad like relentlessly criticises teammates or batting generally. He casts an unhappy figure with everything else going on, and so you're trying. If they're ageist, that could be another reason. Because, like Anderson and Broad, they could go on for another couple of years. Who knows? They seem to be better than the rest of their bowlers. So, I don't think it's wrong to ask the question. I think it's a very rational kind of thought to have to, why drop these guys? Especially when they are keen to go. So anyway,
they've got 3 world-class players, and 2 of them don't play anymore.
I think they should have taken them.
They
though.
got Ben Stokes as well.
I think they should, if you're West Indies, all that sort of stuff.
Oh,
it's like,
no.
They're just the best bowlers in their team.
Totally.
Just bowl them.
Mate, absolutely. I mean, they are their 2 best bowlers. They got 4 world-class players, Root, Stokes, Broad, Anderson. They got some other okay players, and the rest not so good. But, so that's why I'm like, of course you should take them. So it's just like, why wouldn't you?
Exactly.
It's not, and it's not form. Their numbers are good.
What else is it?
They performed. Exactly.
Yeah.
Okay. Australian women's cricket. I'm just reading topic sentences now. Hey, the women won the Ashes, and England didn't win a game this summer. There's a World Cup starting in end of this week on Friday. The first game is, I want to say, New Zealand, West Indies, because it's in New Zealand. And then Australia's first game is on Saturday at midday against England. And England actually won this tournament 4 years ago. So Australia have won the last 2 T20 World Cups, obviously won the Ashes as well. They have the record for most consecutive wins ever in the history of cricket, that passed Ponting's team's record. But they don't currently hold this trophy. And if Australia don't win this trophy, I'm ready to absolutely eviscerate them. Thoughts?
Oh yeah, it'll be evisceration deluxe unless they smash every team. I think everyone's in agreement on that. Great summer. Great summer for both teams. 12 games, 10 wins, 0 losses. I'll take that. I'll have a look at it, and I'll take it.
I'll have a look at it.
Yeah. Sensational test match at Manica. Obviously, that ended up in a draw, so still a bit of bitter taste in the mouth, even though it was one of the great games. But yeah, mate. I mean, yeah, it's what's the next thing. I actually saw a picture yesterday, it was sent to me, of West Indian cricketer DeAndre Dottin in the trial against Australia, wearing short sleeve shirt, what I call arm skins or compression garment underneath, and a beanie. So just bringing that to the table as far as part of global women's cricket chat. What do we think about that? I don't need you to answer that because I haven't briefed you yet, but it was suggested.
I need to see the arms. So the arm sleeves, like, are we talking like Allen Iverson, like kind of 3/4 job? Is it a different color to the shirt? Is it like
different
a white
color? It's like that. Yeah, that off-white, like a hospital bandage color, if that makes sense.
Not for me, mate.
Arm skins, yeah,
It's not
short
looking good.
sleeve and a beanie. And look, it was sent by someone I respect, and someone who would be in the right place to judge. And it was agreed that it was Village. I mean, I'm cautious,
Yeah.
because I said, well, what about
Yeah.
Peter Siddle? What about Peter Siddle
With
Essex with the
Essex,
beanie?
yeah.
And it was replied, well, that was it. It was cold, to be fair, and he was wearing long sleeves, but that beanie was, that beanie was comical. Anyway, I'm just.
I mean, mate, how do you feel about like a seam bowler bowling with a long sleeve jumper on?
Well, see, I'm the wrong person to ask, mate, because I'm a bit all over the shop.
That's not good. Okay, if you're opening bowler,
Yeah.
let's say you're playing your first game in England, right?
How fast do you
their first
bowl?
game is it's fucking cold. It's April. You're bowling 75 miles an
so
hour.
You're trying to deceive the batsman with your pace. Like, you hope that they sort of don't see. Like, because I'm like, if you sort of go under 70 mile an hour, you get to your 65s,
Yeah.
etc., and you're more of a dibbly dobbler. I think
Still fucking Village.
Yeah,
Still
but it's
Village.
less Village because your whole shtick is Village. The pace you bowl at is Village. That's your character.
But I'm talking about like a Rod Stewart, like full long sleeve jumper, like he's about to, go on a soiree.
Like Donald Trump in that portrait he's got of himself. Posing for the third grade team photo, yeah.
So if this fucking Jay Smith comes on to bowl and it's long sleeves and you're like, mate, do you want to take your jumper off? Nah. I bowled my first 3 overs with this. I'm not having the beanie either. I'm not having the beanie. I mean, fielding in the beanie, okay, I'll pay fielding in a beanie, just. Bowling and an athletic... I mean, I'm not big on the white trousers anyway. Like, it's an athletic sport these days, cricket. You can't be wearing fucking Baker's whites if you want to be an athlete. If you have affects of being an athlete, look what we're wearing.
That's
I'm wearing a polo shirt right now, but I'm not performing necessarily physical attributes.
You look like you've just played 18 holes or dropped your child off at private school sport. With respect.
I'm going yachting this afternoon.
Hey, if you think
Cam
that's
Green and I down at the regatta.
trivialising women's cricket, we've got a great chat with Alex Blackwell coming up that goes into depth. But anyway, yeah, I mean, I guess we quickly covered off that Australia won the Ashes. They were undefeated, and then just spent the rest of it talking about DeAndre Dotton's beanie. World Cup's coming up, though.
New Zealand and South Africa are in a tense tussle in a test match series. The first test match, New Zealand fucking smashed South Africa. Yeah. They bowled them out for 94 and 110 or something, and then New Zealand got 480. At the moment, when I checked this morning, the second test also in Christchurch, South Africa were leading by 211 with 5 wickets in hand in the third innings. That's shaping up quite nicely, actually. Is that game, it could be being played right now, so that score is now inaccurate. But don't know, mate. I'm really sorry. I have not seen a single ball.
Oh, I saw one clip of Colin de Gronholm's teammates clapping his 100 from inside the dressing room. So the big man, the great man, Colin the Great Man, if you translate his surname, he made a very serious 100 in the first innings of this game to save the team. So 120 not or something like that, and a lot of people getting around that. As are we. Speaking of no, I got that. And yeah, mate. I mean, shouldn't New Zealand be bossing this stuff? They they're the World Test champions, and yet we're like, okay, so New Zealand stepping up in this game against South Africa. South Africa, obviously, without Keegan Peterson and Nortje. But, yeah. Anyway.
I just think about South Africa and that tour that Australia didn't go on and how different a lot would be, I reckon, if Australia went on that tour, given that South Africa obviously beat India recently at home. No guarantees. I mean, Australia's got a great record in, just to make this New Zealand-South Africa series about Australia, but things would be a lot different, I think, if Australia went to on that tour.
You can't lose away if you don't play.
Indian cricket, Pez. Okay, 3 things. They got a new test captain.
Right.
Pujara and Rahane are gone. And Wriddi Saha just started to expose some stuff on Twitter. What do you want to go with there first?
New Test skipper. That's probably a good place to start. So Rohit's kicking things off now for India. And, hey, what do you want to say? He goes, I'll have a look at it. I'll have a look at Rohit as a new Test skipper. I like the energy of it. I like the presence. It's something new. It's trappings for the eyes. I don't think there seems to be too much consternation about it. I'm not sure whether that's because you get killed if you say anything. But I think at the end of the day, there weren't too many serious contenders for that position. It's just that the guy who was previously in it seemed to get absolutely slaughtered by faceless administration.
Yeah. Well, there's that, I suppose, yeah. And then, Saha just wanted to burn a journalist. And then he sort of like, people were very quick to investigate who that person was. So the situation was like a journalist contacted Wriddi Saha and he said...
Who had retired,
you should do an
he
interview
goes,
with me.
Or he'd sort of been forced into retirement. You know,
Right.
you're not, as in from the international team. It's like, yeah, thanks for the time, Wriddi. You're good.
Yeah.
And he wasn't happy.
Yeah. Yes. I mean, I don't know. Do you know anything more about this? It just seems like...
Yeah, I do.
Well, tell me.
So, okay. So it looked... Wriddi Saha published screenshots of a journalist who was inviting him for an interview to talk more about his presumably his concerns about the process of him no longer being in the Indian side anymore. And part of the invitation, and we used to do this, part of the invitation was to, I guess, persuade Wriddi that, and I'll call him Wriddi, that this particular journalist was the right one to go with. And you can see in the screenshot there's then a missed call, and Saha's obviously not taken the call or replied. And then there's a flurry of text messages afterwards, essentially saying you'll regret that. And then Saha just posted it online, which just started a big whodunit of who is this journalist that has texted this to Saha. And it was really funny because Indian Twitter got onto it quickly and noted a few clues within the text.
Yeah.
Typos. One of which was a recurring predictor text typo where Y-O-U was spelt Y-P-U. And then that was matched to other predictor text issues that one particular journalist in India continues to have when they post online. The journalist in play hasn't been named by Wriddi Saha, and I kind of think, although many people believe they know who it is, and I kind of think that's genius because it keeps the story going and it keeps that person sort of open to ridicule. I'm not fucking with Wriddi Saha. That's basically my takeaway.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, he's got some real Rahane Mafioso shit about him. Do you want to talk about the IPL?
Well, yeah, I mean, I think the main thing with the IPL from an Australian perspective is that you can now get big money in the IPL without having to play any cricket at like Karen Rolton Oval or Drummoyne. And by that I mean Tim David doesn't have to play first-class cricket to get the money that he's got, and I think it's a sign for the future, and I think good luck to him, and I think he should be in and around the Aussie setup because he's a big old unit, and I think he'd fit in beautifully. He's a rooster for sure. He got picked up for 1.5 mil. Australian, or was that US? I think it was Australian, 1.5 mil Australian, I think. He got brought into RCB, didn't he, at the second stage of the IPL after the restart. And I think he was brought into an Aussie squad as well, wasn't he, with Josh Inglis. I think he was also, he didn't play, but he was brought into the squad as well for, what series was that? Was it like the Bangladesh or West Indies ones? He didn't play, but I think he was brought into the squad. Anyway. So, yeah, I think he's there or thereabouts, but he's also played in the 100. He did really well in the 100. He's obviously played for the Hurricanes and the Big Bash down here. And, I don't know anything about him at all apart from that. Just, I've barely seen him play. It's a bit like English stuff. It's like, got to get English in. He's a clubber. He's a big clubber, and he bowls a little bit as well. And there's some good grade cricket stuff of him just absolutely clubbing blokes. Who's he play for? Oh, that you're asking too much there. Yeah.
He's in the IPL. Who does he play for? Which club does he play for?
In the IPL, he's with Mumbai now.
No, I know. I was asking about grey cricket.
Right.
Yeah.
It looks like Delhi is basically the Australian setup again now as well. So there's Warner's gone to Delhi with Ponting as coach, and Shane Watson is the assistant coach there. Faf's gone to RCB. That's pretty hot. Mm-hmm. And the rights for the IPL are expected to double next time round. So a lot of chat about how you treat international players vis-a-vis the IPL. And I think they're valid questions, and that you're going to continue to have to evolve the financial setups and the incentives to keep playing international cricket. But fuck me, I do not know how you compete with the sums of money in play. You know, it's pretty tough going, gotta say.
There's, you know how the generation before the IPL started were, like, especially Australian players, because they're so good, they must be like, I would have had so much money if this came in earlier. There's guys playing now that in 10 years' time, they'll be like, I wish I got that money. Like, it's just...
Yeah.
It's going to head towards, like, NBA and Premier League levels. I mean, just the sheer... And the bigger this window becomes the IPL, the more... I mean, India already has, like, it was like 90 cents to the dollar of global cricket, but that's just going to expand. It's only going to get bigger. And then more of the England and Australia money will move into India as well, so just build up the prices again, more interest, more revenues. Maybe America gets involved as well. How do you, like, Steve Smith obviously didn't get picked up. That's another story. Maybe not that surprising for me, given his role and what he played in the IPL last year at Delhi, and it was obviously at Rajasthan before, and then got moved on. So the conversation now, Pez, is about so the Australian players won't play in the first fifth, I think, the first week of the IPL, or 2 weeks, first week, 2 weeks of the IPL, because they'll be in Pakistan. But Tim David is an example of a guy who may just spend his career playing in the IPL. That's completely, like, it's going to happen. That is going to happen at some point. There's going to be, it's going to become the NBA. There's one league, you know, and then everything else is the D League. it's like,
it's club versus country stuff.
How do you stop someone?
Like,
yeah,
it's
going to happen.
Yeah, I mean, that's the case in other sports as well. I think cricket's continually evolving, you know, in the way that it's structured. Mate, you can't take a shower without missing a game of cricket these days. There's so much of it on all the time.
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah. I just think that it's very difficult to compete against dollars, the amount of money that's there. It's just so much. And I think it's already impacting the way people play their cricket. Like, you know, if you're 14, 15, what are you going to train? You know, apart from in the gym, you train chest, biceps. But what are you going to train when you go to the nets? Like, it will just change the way you prepare. We're seeing in Test cricket, like, ball is dominating bat now. Bats probably just aren't as good at red ball cricket as they used to be because they're incentivized to be much better at white ball cricket. You know, I don't really know what else to say other than, like, this is the way it's going. They probably want to protect the primacy of Test cricket as best as they can. It's going to be interesting to see how they do it.
I think as well, in the slightly romantic aspect, of course the money is a huge driver. When, like, Australia's playing against Sri Lanka at the MCG in February and there's 8,000 people there. Oh, I've got to tell you, if I'm Glenn Maxwell and I go to India and I'm just absolutely worshipped, packed stadiums, the adrenaline, the interest in you as a person, that's pretty good as well, I reckon. And pretty appealing, and because you don't need to be, like, there's not the same, like, nationalistic, like, patriotism about teams, because people just love him as a person. They also like that he's Australian as well, but then he gets a bit more value by being an Australian player. I know a lot of the Kiwi guys are like, well, we're probably better than some of the guys who are in IPL squads, but we don't have, like, the branding power of the Australian cricket team necessarily. Like a guy like Devon Conway, for instance, has been sensational. He's to my knowledge, hasn't been picked up this year, but maybe he has, but he wasn't last year. There's a number of Kiwi guys that are great players that don't have the status of Australian cricket, you know. But anyway, my point being, like, if I'm Glenn Maxwell, where are you going to play? We're going to play in front of 100,000 people at Eden Gardens. There's obviously no crowds this year, but you take my point. And get paid well. Be worshipped in the streets. Don't know, it's a pretty good package deal playing in that. But it's also, I also want my players, because I'm an owner now I'm a slave owner.
Little insight to how the old inner monologue works.
I want my guys to play for my team. Yeah. I don't know. I mean, it's just going to happen. So I don't know. I won't fight it. Is what I'm saying. Okay. Let's get into the final thing before we speak to Waqar Younis, Travis Head, and Alex Blackwell. Australia's in Pakistan right now. The PSL final is actually being played right now, Pez. But my main interest is James Faulkner had a blow up on Twitter, and he threw his helmet into a chandelier. That's
right.
That's the highlight for me.
Yeah, he took to Twitter. You never post. You have to take to Twitter, saying they hadn't honoured his contract and that the PCB lied to him, that it was a disgrace. There seemed to be some wires crossed about delivery of money into UK bank accounts versus Australia bank accounts, but. It's pretty clear there's a little bit going on with Jimmy Faulkner, dumped by the Hurricanes recently. Don't know, maybe it's just a Faulkner problem. And the helmet in the chandelier was one of the great images of cricket, because I think we've all been there. But has there ever been an image better symbolising the nexus of grassroots cricket with the game's new wealth? I normally throw my helmet into a fucking storeroom with cobwebs and footy tackle bags. Listen to it rattle round. He throws his helmet into
old scoreboards.
Yeah, into a fucking chandelier, where it lodges. Yeah. Cricket's getting rich, at least.
I once saw a guy in the dressing room throw his helmet so hard that it bounced from, it was a toilet block, so it bounced from the concrete floor to the concrete ceiling, which was just a conventional ceiling height.
They do bounce helmets, don't they?
Mate, I thought, how's a spring on it? Mate, one of the most satisfying things that you can be in a dressing room with one of your own teammates who's just failed, just be like, oh, this is gonna be good, a little bit saucy.
That's right.
I feel like you should open that up in a private tab.
Exactly, mate. And you're you're not allowed to watch with full eye contact. You have to watch kind of with peripheral vision, pretending you do something else, but that you're actually. So you try and do the most basic thing, like put a sock on or rearrange something in your bag, and you're really just there for the show. Mate, it's a very...
I'm not even playing, I'm just in the dressing room.
That's right. Who is this guy? Yeah, I'm off the street. It's a very iconic sound, isn't it? The sound of a helmet on concrete. I think we wrote about it in one of our first books. He tries to pick up his helmet and he because he's about to go out and bat, and he fumbles it, and it just starts bouncing down the concrete stairs. Dunk, dunk, dunk. Anyway,
you ever do the thing where you're the one who blows up and you just get a little bit too close to someone else's personal space?
Yeah.
And then you have this wave of realization. It's oh, I'm now just a man being really angry in a toilet block in Western Sydney. And then you have to apologize. Then your red mist sort of fades a bit. And you're oh, sorry, but I'm still mad at the shot that I just played and how these blokes are fucked. They're the worst blokes in the comp. The umpire's fucked. It's a real roller coaster.
I got better. I got better at dealing with blow-ups as I got older.
Yeah,
but I used to write into a diary, and one time I wrote weak shot, shit shot of a bloke with small hands.
Wait, did you?
Was either that or small penis? I'm not sure.
Did you used to have that? You have a diary in your bag?
Yeah, I did. Yeah. I'm sure that'll be some kit shaming stuff as well, but because I used to just forget, mate. I'll just write what happened, and then it would happen again, so I just would read it. So I'd read about all my dismissals before I went out to bat.
Helpful. Well, Marnus has made a homemade deck in his living room or his backyard or some shit with razor blades. What?
I thought this was great, and I would buy the shit out of that. To be honest, that it looked really fun. If you could create a home Indian spinning deck, then Asian spinning deck, I think that would be really fun to play with. I mean, it had lots of razor blades on it though, so I worried about that. And it looked like some of the shots he was playing were a bit how you going, but it looked really fun. And we did ask Travis Head about it later, so I don't want to say too much. But and I think he can retail it and do quite well with it.
Pat Cummins has said that he feels incredibly safe in Pakistan. Oh, that makes me feel good as well. But the team's there. First test on Friday. I saw Hassan Ali and another Pakistan player is out of the first test, which I suppose is good news for the Australian team. No one knows what the decks are going to do. We think spin because we just think Pakistan. We think Asia, even though it's completely different. Like, it's just miles away from all sorts of Asian continents. But, you know, it's Asia, so therefore it was spin. Except I remember watching the Pakistan-South Africa series, and, like, I think Norkia took a bunch of wickets there and Rabada did okay, and I think spinners will play a role, as they do in most cricket matches. But we don't know.
Yeah, like it's we talked to Waqar Younis about that as well, but it seems like I've read that the pitches could be literally any style of wicket that you could get at some point in the game. You know, like they could be really good for their quicks because they've got good quicks, but then they don't, like Ian Healy said, they won't want to, like, you know, over help our quicks as well. So I don't know how you make a wicket that's good for their quicks but not ours. It might reverse later, so is that a Stark thing? I don't know. And then, like, but it's also cold in Rawalpindi at the moment, so they're not going to really have a chance to dry out. But then Jeff Lawson, who coached in Pakistan, I always mix those two up. He said in his article last night that, like, it's because they've got the same cricket season as us, so the wickets are likely to be tired and dry. He also talked about going past Osama bin Laden's compound 10 years ago. And it just seems like we don't have a fucking clue what it's going to be. And I like that. I like that about Pakistan cricket. Like, we talked to Waqar Younis. Was he having us on? I like if he was. You know, I want that. So I think advantage Pakistan. Australia's won in Pakistan twice in 60 years. Now, bit of a bung statistic because we didn't play there for 24 of them. But basically, we don't really do that well over there. And I think that is, like, mate, I'm big on Asian cricket. Like, I think it's gonna be an awesome series. It's gonna be like the one Cummins keeps talking about. It's just gonna be like probably gonna have to bat really long. There's gonna be some seriously slow periods of play. There's gonna be a lot of, like, straight fields, keep the runs down kind of scenarios, and then the game will quicken up. I think that could be really interesting. He's happy to go play for draws. So it seems like as everyone tries to predict what's going to go on, they've managed to say literally every permutation of wicket and scenario.
I love it. I love the idea of a tired deck. It's just a bit tired. I know exactly what it means. I'm not naive to that, but it's a nice adjective for it.
No life.
I also like the idea that if Australia don't win the first test by an innings, there's going to be some ex-players being like, fucking weak, disgraceful. Disgusting. This is why they need leaders like the previous guy. Yeah, that's what they needed him. Like, they're under a lot of pressure to win some series in Asia this year, which statistically, as you've said, is pretty tough to do.
Here's one I'm looking at in all seriousness for this. Like, I'm just looking forward to the novelty of seeing my national team play away from home at, like, a different time zone.
Oh, mate, first time in 2 years.
Is a sponsor on the kit going to be different? Are they going back to Qantas? A bit of red on the kit, a little splash of red. Yeah. You know, like, is the hue of the camera just going to be a little bit different? Do you know what I mean? Like, what's the sharpness level, detail of the camera going to be? What, you know, this is mate, you know what I mean? This is the good gear.
Absolutely. Because the last away series was the Ashes 2019, right?
Yeah, exactly.
That is a fucking joke.
That is
a fucking joke.
Yeah. Well,
that's
there.
2.5 years ago.
Yeah, they're there now. And the one I'm keeping my eye on is Smith. Like I'm not, like, he's had a really poor run for his standards, basically since the Ashes. He has not looked fluent at all, and maybe he just ends up becoming our away from home king. You know,
and I was just thinking about him before because I said to you that I didn't think Smith would get 100 in the Ashes, which, given his record against England, was a ridiculous shout, but. They just eventuated that way, so I was right, is what I want to say. But I can, thanks, mate. I can see him doing some shit here. I can see some Pakistan runs this year, Sri Lanka, and then India whenever that series they decide to play. Because there's a few whispers about it not being played in September this year, like it's being scheduled at the moment. But I can see Smith But, I mean, he's still doing okay. He's performing well, but for him, it's a bit like Kohli. It like for the numbers that these guys were posting for a bit, it has a drop off, but they're still very good Test players. But I can see a return here. For Smith. I don't know why. I just feel it.
He doesn't want to be down for long, and if he is down for a while, like we said before, it's compensation runs. I want to see it. I think it's time for Smith. But I'll be watching closely. Whatever does that fucking mean? I'll just watch whenever I can watch.
So to that end, Pez, second session, first test, day one. That is Friday. I don't know what time that is, but you can figure that out. Second session, first test, day one, live stream on YouTube. So join us. We'll have some scores. We'll have some good times. We'll have some chats. We'll have some super chats. Some people will come in. Some people will come out.
Oh, wow.
Some people will come out.
Yeah.
It's actually,
It's a hell of an announcement.
Yeah. Okay, Pez, before we speak to Waqar Younis, Travis Head and Alex Blackwell, before hashtag AskTGC, we need to thank our dear friends Budgie Smuggler, who are once again going around with TGC. It's been a long-term partnership. We thank them dearly for supporting the show and us as people.
Our greatest friends, we love being with them, getting around them, and they in turn us. And we want you to get around custom swimwear, all made in Australia. budgiesmuggler.com.au, and you can customize it. If you're new to the show, per the name, you can customize a design on that swimwear. Now, I asked Waqar Younis a question you're going to see later. I'm not sure he appreciated it, about Imran Khan, and it got me thinking about just the biggest circuit kings of international cricket, he goes, that you may want to have slapped onto your custom swimwear. I tried to get one from every country I could think of, he goes. So Pakistan, Imran Khan, I think that's going to be undefeated, by the way. Imran Khan in the 80s, get out of here. Imran Khan meeting Vladimir Putin, not going to pretend to know everything about it. Not sure I'm the biggest fan, but so I don't mean to glorify the bloke, but gee, he's a good cricketer. So, Imran Khan, BC Lara, of course. I mean, there's going to be a couple of West Indians competing for that, but I'm trying to get the nexus of like good player and then circuit king.
So with that one, there's people going through his, but there's got to be like that. People are saying, the name of the. I'm fucking not copying it. I actually don't want to be with that person.
Yeah,
I don't.
The one that you're thinking of
it.
from the West Indies that people go,
I don't rate it.
Nah, I agree.
Yeah, I don't rate it.
Yeah. England, look, okay, England you can go in, both of them, obvious one, or WG Grace. Can't tell me he wasn't.
Or Graham Thorpe.
Exactly. Australia, Shane Warne. Move on.
Mm-hmm.
Or Luke Pomersbatch. And India, Yuvraj. I know he wanted to shed the party boy image a little bit, but I got a feeling Yuvraj would have done a few Ks in his time, as they say.
What about Hardik Pandya?
Yeah, I don't know. Is that like? Does he party? Does he circuit?
He's got a bit of a playboy thing about him, but maybe maybe it's a bit like maybe not a good schooner.
Let us know in the comments if Hardik Pandya is a circuit king. I know Yuvraj was in his time, with respect.
Yeah.
South Africa, Herschel Gibbs,
I'll take your pick.
Yeah. Got anyone else in here? Nanti Haywood.
Brian McMillan.
Oh, yeah, B-Mac. Yeah, he loved it. He hated a schooner. New Zealand, Jesse
Ryder.
Ryder.
Brian McMillan used to drink his schooner and he used to eat the glass. It was a whole thing. He had shocking teeth, but...
Huge dental surgery required, but hell of a party trick. Jesse Ryder from New Zealand, I'm guessing.
Of course, yeah.
And Sri Lanka, I wouldn't mind a circuit with Arjuna.
Mm.
You got anyone else in mind there?
Chaminda Vas?
I don't know.
A bit.
Yeah. I'm getting on Arjuna's yacht, to be honest.
I feel like Aravinda De Silva had a bit about him.
Yeah, I think he had a bit about him. I know Russell Arnold, and he's not a circuit king, but...
No, he's not.
He's not. He's a lovely man, and I really enjoyed the contrast of, sort of aggressive Australian men trying to bump him in first grade when he'd go out and bat without a helmet or hat, and he would smash them. It was like really giggle worthy. I remember seeing him just take Parramatta down one day. It was just over cover without just Russell Arnold without a hat. Was one of the iconic things at Old Kings.
Yeah, that's pretty good. Yeah. That's pretty good, mate. What about Angelo Matthews? Is there something there?
I mean, on.
Rooster.
Yeah,
there's a rig
Rooster
on it.
Stuff. Yeah, Rooster rig. Yeah. Let us know. Anyway, you can get all those guys on on your custom designed swimwear. Head to budgiesmuggle.com.au. Use the code CHAMP. See what happens. Something.
That actually would be a really good. I want someone to do that. That actually sounds really good. Circuit Kings. Yeah, not bad. And then here goes. These next 3 interviews, big interviews, brought to you by T20 Stars. We're going around again with T20 Stars as well. Here goes. What I want to talk about with T20 Stars kit, mate, is the how simple, seamless, and easy it is to purchase cricket kit online. Everything's moving online, and T20 Stars is leading the way. They have this thing called the bat selector now. Here goes. They've developed the bat selector. If you go to t20stars.com. Okay. Not to be confused with the when you go to Melbourne Zoo and you're trying to work out which bat you're seeing there in the enclosure. Just want to see a fruit bat.
But at t20stars.com, you use the bat selector, which helps you choose the perfect stick. And as we've said before, amazing quality willow. Watto's close to it. He doesn't fuck around with this stuff. Do they mind me swearing? Probably. They're good people, but it's real life.
Well, you absolutely have to get the T20 Stars Pangolin. That's the new that's the new range coming out this year.
Well, that does the most damage. All bats are hand-shaped by the finest bat makers on the planet. You want to go there? Bat makers, mate? And it's the only difference to other cricket brands here. So T20 Stars isn't going to pay star players in the game 6-figure contracts to use their products, as all that does is increase the price of the bats for the people who want to play and stay in the game. Now, that's a big shot at sponsored players, I'd have to say, and I like that from Watto. I like that.
Taking a shot.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know what it means given that like they got us to promote it. I mean, we're on a different kind of partnership, but is Watto saying that we're not big players? Yes, he is. Alfred again.
Never ends.
It never ends. Go to t20stars.com for the most quality bats at the most affordable prices, t20stars.com.
Here are 3 of the biggest interviews that you'll hear this week on a cricket podcast with 2 idiots from the internet, Waqar Younis, Travis Head, and Alex Blackwell.
Well, you might know this man from the following stats. And for the person that we're speaking to, we always start with stats because that pretty much defines the person. And what a load of stats they are. 87 tests, 373 wickets at 23.6, a best of 7 for 76 and 22 fifers. 262 ODIs, 416 wickets there at 23.8, a best of 7 for 36 and 13 fifers. 228 first-class matches, 956 wickets at 22.37, a best of 8 for 17 and 63 fifers. Younger people might know him from Robolinta titles like Impossible Cricket Yorker, no batsman in history can face this. He's one half of the most fearsome, sexy pace duo in history of cricket. It's our deepest pleasure to welcome Waqar Younis to the Grade Cricketer. Waqar, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Sam. Good to be with you guys and hopefully have some fun.
We will have some fun, Waqar. So let's start in the most fun and dark place of all. It's not often that we get to speak to one of the world's best ever fast bowlers and ask them about Australian grade cricket, but we can with you. You played at North Sydney in the early 2000s, I believe. A lot of people around that time would say that Sydney grade cricket was the best amateur competition in the world. Did you think it was any good? What are your memories?
Indeed, I played for North Sydney and I enjoyed my time really. It was very brief though. I didn't play the whole season because I was kind of retiring at the time. I almost hung my boot by then, and I was approached by North Sydney and asked to come and play. I had a great time. It was tough because I was sort of coming off international cricket and Test cricket, and suddenly had to go and play for North Sydney, a great cricket, which I felt was a little bit too much for me at times, because when you played the top level cricket, and you suddenly you go and play great cricket, and you expect, okay, it's a club cricket, it'd be laid back, easy, but it wasn't, to be very honest. The standard was really good, and that's why I couldn't cope with the guys for too long. I think I played only 5 weeks, and I was tired, and they were really competitive, and they just wanted me to push, and every time they want me to bowl and bowl fast, and I was really finished by then, to be honest. But the standard was really good. I really enjoyed it, every bit of it, and the dressing rooms were very energetic, and on field it was everyone was very pumped up every time. Aussies, they just want to win every game, simple as that. So it was tough, but as I said, North Sydney, I live in Sydney also, and it was very enjoyable time. Really had a great time, and very thankful to the guys who really looked after me there.
Waqar, I think a lot of people listening or watching the show would know what you mean when they say sometimes the people just got a bit too much for me. I played at Norths, and I had the same experience, in a different way, but you did well to finish after 5 weeks. Can I ask? There's a great image, a great sort of lineage of Pakistanis playing grade cricket, going back to Imran Khan in the mid-'80s at Sydney University. The stories of Imran in Sydney in the mid-'80s are legendary. Did he encourage you guys to play in Sydney? And did you enjoy the same lifestyle that he did when you were playing Sydney grade cricket? Because I got to say, he seemed to be the king.
Look, I don't really know about Imran's time in Sydney. We all know that kind of cricketer he was, and he had I'm sure that he had a great time there, and he enjoyed his time over in Sydney. Sydney is a happening place, as you know. And I was more, as I said, Imran played, I think, because in the 80s, and he was very young then, and it was different. I was almost done, finished, gone, and married, and in living in Australia by then, and it was different ball game for me. But yeah, great cricket is always fun. Sydney is a lovely place. I moved there when that's the time actually I moved there when I played for Sydney. So some lovely times on the field, some great times off the field also, for sure.
Okay, you and Wazim Akram are so intrinsically linked, as cricketers, and your career sort of runs parallel to one another. But he was lauding you after his induction into the Hall of Fame the other day. How many of your wickets do you think that he got?
Look, Wasim, I feel that a great cricketer, one of the best one being produced in the 90s and bit of 2000 also, and I was very, very lucky to play parallel to him, bowling from the other end. It always helped, and really had a lovely time. The success in the 90s have come through both of us a lot, bowling and then of course playing in different conditions. We had a great time bowling together.
Waqar, let's talk about you. You made your debut in the same game that Sachin did. I like it. Yeah, good. I don't rate those other guys anyway. But you made your debut in the same game Sachin did, or as I like to say, Sachin made his debut in the same game you did. And you picked up his wicket in the game as well. We don't get to see Pakistan play India very much anymore. How nice is it to sit back and just know you put Sachin in your back pocket in your debut game?
Well, I can say that now, but not at the time when I got him, because he was very young, and we were both very young. But he was literally a kid walking on the field. We never. There was a lot of talk about him, that he is next good thing, and And bowling at him, we didn't think that, to be honest, at the time. We thought he's just a little kid, and how can they just talk him up so much? Because it was a big series, massive series. It was a 4-test match series, I think. And I when we got to Sialkot for the last test match where he scored, I think 40 or 50 maybe. That's where he showed his class on a green top wicket. All 4 test matches were drawn. It was very hard fought series. But yeah, I mean, now I can say that, I got him. He was one of my first wickets. So, great cricketer, no doubt about that. I mean, he's been worshipped in India, and rightly so. I mean, the kind of performances he has produced for India is just, great.
Waqar, just on that, just a follow up, like to your point, saying we didn't really think he was great. So because you bowled him, so that's just straight through that you've bowled him. Did you just, when you got in the huddle after you rock and rolled him, you just sort of go, I don't get it, this bloke. I don't understand the hype. Was that the talk among the boys?
Kind of, we thought it's just it's just a baby on the field, and I'm sure he was very nervous also, like all of us, playing for the first time, and him being thrown in the deep end, he probably didn't shave by then. He was like literally a baby, and he's still a baby face. He's still a baby face, and no doubt he's one of the best the world have seen, and yeah, good to have him first up, a leg on him.
Is it hard, Waqar, to sort of straddle the line of being a former player and also former player, legend of Pakistan cricket, commentator, coach, mentor? Do you think, is the Pakistan cricket team, this team playing now, is it your team? Or is it just kind of do you observe it more distantly than that?
Look, I have been involved in coaching, and as you said, I've been a commentator and a mentor, and I've done everything in cricket, literally. I tried everything in cricket, literally. It has always been my team, and I always support them, always back them, and talent, as you know, that Pakistan, when it comes to cricket, a very talented nation, especially in fast bowling. You always see someone down in some village coming through and have got that talent. That's why it takes a little longer for them to adjust at the top. But that team just now, even I definitely have a lot to do with it. I've coached them, I've mentored them, especially fast bowling lineup for the last sort of couple of years also. So it's Pakistan team, so it is of course my team.
Yeah.
Okay, heading into the series, Waqar, I know you probably guessed that we were going to talk about that. Cricket lovers in Australia adore Pakistan cricket. It's exciting, it's aggressive, it's entertaining, and we've not been over to your parts for 20 years. Can you give us a sense of how big this series is for Pakistanis and what it means to be able to play it at home against Australia, just so we understand?
Look, I think the entire country is very thankful to Australia, because not only that they didn't tour for cricket, but we've been in isolation for so many years, and not only Australia, but none other country has toured, and this is the first big tour. I mean, South Africa, Sri Lanka, and Bangladesh have come last year, but this is going to be a massive tour. I mean, we played about 10 to 11 years, I think, in isolation in UAE. That's not home, whatever you say. Yes, it was our home series, but it was never home. Playing in front of your own crowd in your own backyard, in your own stadiums, on your own pitches, it's a different ball game altogether. So I feel that this is a massive series for fans, for all of us. Cricket coming back to Pakistan, especially Test match cricket. It is always exciting time, and now we know that Australia, they're sending their top team. They're not really going to be they're not mucking around. Let's put it that way. And they mean business. I mean, they have stopped players going to IPL also, which is good that they've just come to, and they're giving weightage to Test match cricket. And it's going to be a massive series. 3 Test matches. playing in different venues. I think it should be a very competitive series, and we are really looking forward and very thankful to Australia that they're sending their team and they're trusting and they're all these security issues, and of course with the COVID pandemic and all that. I mean, cricket has suffered a lot, not only Pakistan, but cricket has suffered a lot. So it is going to be a mega series, I would say, and hopefully Pakistan will win. Let's put it that way.
It's exciting, Waqar, this series. It's got, like, I'm looking at the players, like, I was seeing Shaheen Shahid, there's Babar Azam, Fakhar Zaman, Rizwan, one of my favorite players to watch at the moment. Pakistan have got serious players. I mean, like, what's the goal for this team? Because I completely hear what you're saying. That it's so exciting that the cricket in Pakistan is happening in a big series. But like when the first ball is bowled, both teams want to win, obviously. But where are Pakistan and their journey? What's this team about? What are they trying to achieve?
Look, just recently, if I talk about Test match cricket, I think Pakistan have done extremely well. Whatever the sources, whatever what was there. I mean, we played against South Africa at home. We won that series. We played against Bangladesh, Sri Lanka. We won both those series. So Pakistan at home, and they started feeling like that they're playing home. I mean, early on to when we started with Zimbabwe. That was a couple of years back, and it still felt that it's not home yet. It was a lot of pressure on the players, and I think by playing last couple of series, I feel that these players and they're much relaxed now, and now they've got all these awards also, and they feel that they belongs to the top cricketers, and they can beat any side. So the name you mentioned, I mean, Rizwans and Babars and Shaheens and Azhars and Fawad Alams. I mean, they all very good cricketers, and they all have scored bundles of runs in the last few series. We went to West Indies also, although we drew that series, but very hard fought series. In West Indies, it's never easy to win. So I feel that they're ready. The only problem I see or issue I see is probably because we just in the middle of PSL 7. And the issue is that have they got enough time to prepare for Test matches? Because Test match starts on the 3rd, and there's still a few of the guys are involved in PSL in a shorter version of the game. So that is a kind of worry for me, that will they be ready or prepared for the Test matches? Yes, there are few who are preparing themselves on the side, but the big boys like Shaheen and Rizwan, they're still involved in this. So a little bit concerned, but I guess they have probably made a plan, the new coaches and the new management, and they will come hard at the Aussies.
Waqar, before the Ashes started in Australia, the first game was in Brisbane. And if you listen to all of the conversation about what the pitch would be like, you would have heard that it was green, it would seam, it was good to bat on. You should win the toss and bowl, so you could bat on day 2. I know you should win the toss and bat, and on day 1 get through it. You could literally pick up any single thing about the pitch that you wanted.
Sam, the only green thing probably you'll see here in Pakistan is the color of your shirt, man. That's all you get. I don't think you will get anything.
You knew where my question was going, because all our boys are going over there and they're saying we don't know what's going to happen with the wickets, and I like that from Pakistan. I like that we don't know. And in Australia, we can be very lazy with our stereotyping, and we would say, "Oh, we're going to Asia, so let's take 18 spinners." But Pakistan's quicks are great. What do we look? Is it low and slow? You're the reverse swing king. Is it going to reverse? Just let us know what the decks are going to be like.
Look, I don't think Australia should just worry too much about the spinners, because sometimes you get confused by coming to Asia thinking that it's gonna turn sideways, India maybe, but for the last 24 years they don't know, they haven't been here. I feel that it's not going to be like that. They're gonna be really good pitches. They're not gonna be like Brisbane or Perth or the green toppers. You won't get that, but there will be pitches where it's going to be hard work. It is not going to turn big, especially the first Test match in Rawalpindi. I don't think they can even prepare. a turner there, because the weather there is a lot cooler, and it is hard for that soil to break in this sort of weather. So I think the pitches are going to be good ones good to bat on. And then, of course, as you said, reverse swing is going to be key. For the spinners, I also feel that it's going to be hard work to pick out wickets. So bowlers got to be really prepared, really ready to put in the hard yard to get 20 wickets if they want to win the test match.
Finally, Waqar, just to bring it back to the grassroots, as you said earlier, you took 789 international wickets for Pakistan at 23. But when you played in Parramatta's Last Man Stands comp in 2017, doing my research, they claim that you took 3 wickets at a bowling average of 30. And I've also seen you made your debut against a team called Warnie's Face Is Not Real. So should we be respecting the standard of the Last Man Stands competition?
Well, my story of Last Man Standing is an interesting one, you know. Yeah, I don't want to play that competition again, to be honest, because I was disrespected in that competition. I'll tell you a small story. My brother-in-law, who lives in Sydney, and he pushed me to come and play, you know. And I went and played, and I said, I had a fair idea. I thought, okay, if I bowl a new ball, I'll get away with things. And I asked them to let me bowl the new ball, and they were happy to do that. So because he was playing against an Indian side, some Indian side, I don't know. So I bowled first 2 overs, and it was synthetic, no proper pitch. It was just like any other synthetic pitch. So the first couple of overs, a lot of respect was shown to me. Those guys were very, very kind, and the ball swung a little bit. You know, those great cricket balls, you know, 2-piece balls, and then swung a little bit. So I just got away with things. And I gave, I think, 8 or 10, 7, 8 runs, something like that in the first 2 overs. And then I requested my brother-in-law. I said, I just don't want to bowl anymore. So we took the 5 or 6 wickets early, and then we get into like 16th, 17th over, and then he pushed me to bowl another over. And there was this guy, I don't know his name now, he's an Indian Sikh guy. I think he must have played some top level cricket back in India at his time. So he came on the pitch, and he showed me all that respect, touching my knees, putting hand together and saying namaste and all those sort of things. And I'm like, I said, okay, I can get away with things. And the first ball he faced, and he just blocked me. And I thought, hey, that's good. And that's about right. And the next 4 balls, and the fielders was just running on the roads, on the trees, on the onside. And I went for the next 4 balls. I went for 24. And I'm like, I kind of embarrassed myself. And I'm looking at my brother, and I said, I'm not going to spare you, mate. I couldn't do anything to him. I mean, he was good, and I was done, and I was struggling. So, I mean, it was a great experience, but mate, I'm not going that way anymore. Done. Thank you.
That guy.
And you know what? Every 6 he was hitting, he was just coming to me and he was apologizing. And I said, why are you apologizing? The funny bit was that he will hit me, and they were not small 6s. They were like good 80 meters or maybe more. On the small ground, they were catching it from the other road, from the motorway, freeway. You know what I mean? So that was last man. I was standing. Yeah.
Waqar, thank you so much, mate. And I think it's very generous of you to share that story with us after 789 international wickets. It just goes to show that, you know, cricket ends up getting you in the end. Thanks so much for joining us, mate. We look forward to your commentary of the series in Pakistan. I think you're doing some stuff for SEN Radio as well, so tune into that. I didn't need to promote that, but may as well. Mate, really appreciate it, and we'll catch you around.
Thank you so much. I'll tell more stories on the radio also, so keep tuning.
Nice one.
Thank you.
Right. Well, we've had a month or so off, so we're storming back with some big time names, and it doesn't get much bigger at the moment in Australian cricket, like apart from Tim David, obviously, than the player of the actual Ashes, the player of the series, Travis Head. Heady, welcome back to the Grade Cricketer.
Thanks, boys. Thanks for having me.
All right, Travis, let me take you back to the first test. I mean, I'm sure you go back there yourself very often. Of the Ashes, you're at the crease, Australia's at the crease, and you're there amid a little collapse. It's 4 for 47 at the Gabba. And you then hit 100 off 85 balls out of 152 off 148 balls eventually. But despite all that, the sort of the scintillating match-winning 100, probably the innings of the series. Did you agree with Ian Chappell's immediate reaction, which was that he still didn't trust you? And did it leave you thinking, how do you earn this bloke's trust?
Oh, it's impossible to earn it. No, yeah, I got a lot of mates that actually, it's probably nice that I didn't have to listen to it while I was batting and we don't get a chance to listen to the commentary, but a few blokes reminded me of it afterwards that, he still was looking forward to seeing my dodgy defence come out at some point during the series. It's one of those things. He's got the job done, which was nice, and he's probably still right in some aspects of it.
Trav, then in the third test, you don't go to Sydney. Was that the fourth test? I can't remember how cricket's played anymore. But you're in hotel quarantine in Melbourne, and you're watching Uzi replace you, hit twin tons. I mean, this is your summer. This is your spot. You turn it around. But I mean, how hard was it to say? Yeah, it was just great to see Uzi do well, and really happy for him. And
nice, just sit in Mooney Ponds in a nice Airbnb, put my feet up for a week, and just chill out and get ready for Tassie. So, it was great. But I'm probably better on the green seamers, so it was just nice to miss the real flat wicket of the series, which was nice. I'm one of the boys as we went along that I just missed out on the nice one, the nice batting friendly one. But it was I barely got a game in Brisbane. I was almost going to miss because of it. So I think it was that touch and go that it was nice to see both get a little bit of a crack. That's being the nice guy. The other bloke says I wouldn't mind batting on the flatty.
Yeah, it's always two heads, both ways. Well, Travis, a few weeks ago, there's a Fox Sports article and it reads, more trophies and not individual awards is what Ashes Player of the Series Travis Head wants after adding the Australian Domestic Player of the Year to his growing awards pile, having cemented his place among the best batsmen in the country. And you went on to say, Travis, that's what you play for. You play to win team trophies. Just so for the benefit of the listeners, Travis, are you one of those guys who maintains they'd prefer a duck in a winning team than to score 100 in a losing side? And how are we to trust you, like Ian Chappell's lack of trust in you, if you say that that's the case?
I'm probably one of those guys because, like I said, I haven't won a great deal of stuff. So maybe if you're a couple of the other guys that win each week and have probably got 4 or 5 fewer to their name, a heap of Ashes and whatnot, and have ticked most of the boxes, and they're just looking for a couple of stats at the end. Me, on the other hand, I would love to, win a couple of a bit of silver at South Australia in terms of domestic stuff. So, and then once we get one, then I'll try to make sure I get as many runs as I can, and I'm not worried about it. But I'd like to tick that box. It's something that's important to me. So hopefully over the next few years we can do that.
Trav, it must have been a busy month on the WhatsApps for the boys. I mean, Graham Thorpe's filming you for the lawyers. I'm looking forward to that court case finishing up. There's obviously JL stuff, IPL auction, Tim David, and Marnus falling over in Hobart. Which of those got the most traction on the thread of WhatsApp for the players?
The Thorpe one, probably inside the group, Marnus, and then outside the group, all my mate. Yeah, there was a lot of action around there. There's just the quiet beer at 6:30 out at Tassie. There was a lot of traction around that. It's the second time I was kicked out of it somewhere by the police this year. The second time I wasn't doing anything wrong and getting kicked out. So that was amusing. And it was good to see Alex Carey be kicked out because he didn't come to the first one when Sackers got kicked out. So he got the good boy image, and everyone's just come to see that at 6:30, Alex Carey's there.
So huge breakthrough for you this summer, Travis. How does it feel to know that our goldfish memory as a society means that none of it matters at all unless you destroy every attack in Asia? And how quickly are you expecting the golden generation to jump on you and the team if you fail to emerge from Asia undefeated, preferably with every match won by an innings?
Yeah, well, that's the pressure. Yeah, we're going to have to go over there and win in 3 days, and hopefully Farrell just gets another million wickets. So that's the expectation. I think everyone's going over there, and Scotty's just going to keep knocking everybody over. We're going to finish in 3 days, and we'll be on a quick flight back. But understand the other way. If we don't perform particularly the way and people like, then we'll be no good again. So that's always the pressure. That's what the pressure's always been. You look forward to that, and hope Scotty gets a couple of poles.
How are you gonna play the Tim David situation? What's now known as the Tim David situation? Is it you sidle up to him just about, mate, how many tests have you played, or is it more of a, mate, dinner tonight, maybe Nobu? Like how are you gonna balance that?
I've hardly played any white ball cricket over the last couple of years, so I'm just the red ball specialist. So I don't think I'll see Tim around the traps too much. He keeps slogging them, I keep blocking them. So if we do cross paths, then I might have to get some tips off the white ball, and I'm not sure how many tips I can give him vice versa off the red ball, but see what happens. Maybe he'll be able to buy dinner, which is at least the nice part.
The JL stuff's kind of done, Travis. I'm sure you guys are keen to move past it. There's still some efforts out there though to cast the players as conspiratorial in his departure. I know Chad Sayers, your mate, sort of said that you quite like JL and stuff like that, but people are sort of saying no, it was an inside job, mafioso style. So I know that your job now is to say, well, we've moved past it, and I just want to know how satisfying it is in a breakup, like to play that role of the person who says, like, girlfriend, I know you're upset, but I've moved on.
Yeah, I guess I'm in the nice position. I got along with him really well. In parts, he was bloody hard on me in other parts that I would have agreed or disagreed in periods. But I only know him as the only coach I've had. So in Test cricket, so I just sort of walked into that situation. I guess other guys experience different things. So yeah. It's like some girl, you're not going to like every girlfriend you ever had. You're going to have a couple that you didn't like. So I think that's the same part with the coaches. The coaches you do like, don't like. I'm the lucky boy that's in the middle that, had moments and didn't have moments. So yeah, I can straight bat it, which is nice.
Why'd you do it, Trav? Why'd you do it?
Yeah, why'd you do the inside job?
Yeah.
Hey, I'm just a little bogan from Adelaide, mate. I don't get any say.
Trav, I feel like the Ashes was like an end of a cycle or something. What's next for this team? Is obviously like the white ball team, they can defend the T20 World Cup, but what's it about for the red team? There's obviously Asian tours coming up. Just win every game in 3 days. England is in 18 months, of course, because we just finished an Ashes, so the next one's around the corner. Is there a goal in mind? Is it World Test Championship? Is it to knock off New Zealand from their perch if they still play cricket? I don't really know.
I think it's probably that. Like, it's not spoken about as much, but I think as a playing side of things, you do keep an eye on that ladder. So that would be a nice one to play in. I think it's just before the Ashes. So that would be also a nice lead up, being over there and a good experience. I know we just missed it last time. So, but yeah, I think from the test team point of view, I think you want to win every test match. Every test match is special. Every week that you go into it is special. We didn't play a hell of a lot of it this year, so it's going to be tough. There's a lot coming up. But I think you try and take it as it is, and we go to Pakistan and we try and play as well as we can, and then just embrace that series, and then you tick that box, and then you move to Sri Lanka, and then you keep moving on. So there's a lot of cricket coming, but it's exciting. But I think every opportunity you get is an important one for the test team. You don't sort of look at those little moments, like the milestone moments, like one day cricket and T20 cricket where you got World Cups.
Right. Last one from me, Travis. Speaking of trying to do your best over in Asia, I mean, Marnus Labuschagne has come out with his own mat that he plays with at home, with little bits of aluminium on it that are cut up or something. What's your edge? Like, do you just go to the nets? Like, do you feel inadequate going to the nets now when guys have like their own materials at home? What are we looking at?
Well, the glad thing about the biggest positive out of that is the razor blades on the mat didn't take off one of his feet. So it was good to see he didn't use his feet or anything, because it was Stanley knives on it, Matt, by the looks of things. And you wouldn't want to be one of his toes coming down the wicket to a full pitched one. So I'll just stay well clear of that. I think, that's been heavy hasn't been heavy in the WhatsApp, but around the group. So yeah, he's a different breed, that bloke. So, but no, I didn't have any backyard cricket over the last couple of months, last couple of weeks.
Do you think like Axar Patel looks at that and goes, yeah, that's exactly what a pitch is like over here? Like, do you feel like, like Axar's already in Marnus's head if Marnus is putting Stanley knives on Matt's, saying that this is what a deck is like?
It might be a flow-on effect because a couple of Shield games ago, I knocked him over, so he might just be worried about if I'm knocking him over. If I'm knocking over, what the hell is going to come over the next couple of months? So, but yeah, I don't know. Yeah, there's a lot of things that goes on in that bloke's mind, cricket-wise. I seen he was having a hit 2 days after Tassie getting back into it. Unfortunately, during the Big Bash, I left my feet at Mona, so I got them posted back about 3 weeks later. So, I was just getting back into it, which is nice. But Mum was straight in the nets, which made me feel a little bit, underdone in certain periods of the last couple of weeks.
My favourite part about that was like blokes on Twitter commenting underneath Marnus's post, being like, "We've actually got to read it out of the hand. It's not good off the deck. You actually just
Can you pick the wrong one or not?"
Yeah. Travis, thanks so much, mate. You guys are back into quarantine. We feel for you as everyone else is essentially out ahead of your trip to Pakistan. Wishing you all the best, and obviously, the nation's expecting nothing but innings victories inside 3 days, or else everything's been a mistake. Cheers, Travis.
Thanks, boys. Fingers crossed. Looking forward to it.
Okay, I'm going to throw some more numbers at you here, everyone. This woman has played 12 women's tests, 450s, a top score of 74, 240 short format matches for her country in ODIs and T20s, approaching 5,000 runs at that level, 300s, 26 50s, a high score of 114, bowling average of 10, 88 catches too. She's fourth on the list of Australia's one-day run scorers and the second most capped Australian women's cricketer ever, with 251 international appearances across 3 formats in a career spanning 16 years. She was appointed vice captain of the Australian team in 2008 and first captain Australia in the 2009 ICC Women's World Cup in Sydney in May 2010. She led Australia to victory in the T20 World Cup in the West Indies. She was part of Australia's World Cup winning sides in 2005 and 2013, a member of Australia's most successful World T20 sides in 2012 and 2014. She was the first woman in 159 years to be elected to the Cricket New South Wales board. She's a commentator. She's a list consultant with the Thunder. She works at New South Wales Health as a genetic counsellor, but is on leave because she's a new mum to the 2-week-old Edie. And she's the author of an extraordinary sporting memoir called Fair Game, written with Megan Maurice, published by Hachette. So Alex Blackwell is probably tired and wired, and there's a bit to cover. Alex, welcome finally to The Grade Cricketer.
Thanks, Sam, and for that wonderful introduction. I did have that record broken. Elise Perry's now the most capped female player in history for Australia. So, look, if anyone's going to break it, I'm happy that it's Elise.
Yeah, Elise Perry, we've both got problems with Elise. Like, you've got capped problems, and when I Google myself, I just get Elise Perry stats. So anyway, hey, Alex, look, it's our tradition. We've got to start with grade cricket. Last year, you were announced captain of the New South Wales Premier Cricket Team of the Decade, which I'll call the grade cricket team of the decade. Now, you would have played in the and obviously congratulations on that, by the way. That's a great achievement. But Thank also, I've got to ask a silly question. You would have played in the decade prior to that, and maybe even the one before that too. And whether it's men's or women's cricket, it's a cultural right of us, if we're in our mid to late 30s, as we all are, to insist that the standard of grade cricket was actually better in the decade prior to that. So I just want to say, where do you stand on that? And maybe more seriously, what's your relationship to grade cricket?
You're absolutely right. Grade cricket was much better years and years ago. I don't know what's happened to it now. It's too easy, but it's grade cricket obviously has been a huge part of my life, not just at Sydney grade cricket, but also playing grade cricket with the men out in regional New South Wales, where I first grew up. So I played for the Servicemen's Cricket Club in Griffith, and that's where it all began. So, club cricket actually, it taught me how to play tough cricket out in the country against the boys, because we used to train at the Exes Club on cement pitches in the nets, the cage wire nets, and the wickets were 44-gallon drums. So they were huge. The stumps were huge, basically. Yeah. So you had a lot to defend, and you certainly knew when you were bowled. So that was growing up playing cricket in the country. You have to sort of improvise sometimes.
I imagine you're sort of traumatized by that death rattle. It feels like all like elite women's cricketers, wherever they come from, have these really formative stories about. I mean, I don't know if it's a euphemism when you say we were toughened up playing in men's cricket. Like, what does that look like out in Griffith? I'm sure there are some good aspects of it, and then there's probably some very grim aspects of that too.
Yeah, look, I think being toughened up, even if you're playing women's cricket out in Griffith and Hay and Wagga, that would have toughened you up, but there wasn't any women's comps. So playing cricket in that part of the world, you got tough because 40 degrees, Saturday, Sunday, playing, your club game on Saturday and then rep on Sunday. Not many girls were playing, so my twin sister and I got a fair bit of sledging as well. So, that's all a part of growing up to be a cricketer, being exposed to some of these more challenging things, and, running around on the outfield and trying to dodge rabbit holes in the, barren dirt that was the outfield when we were playing out at Hay and places like that. So, I think I'm very privileged to have grown up in the country and gotten a good upbringing, I guess, in those conditions. The girls in Sydney grade, they've got it easy. Beautiful pitches, nice outfield.
Alex, your career record is, for lack of a better term, a joke. Like, you won the NCL with New South Wales 10 years in a row. T20 World Cup winners you're in the team in 2005. 2010, 2012, 2014, you won the ODI World Cup 2013. How many games in your career did you actually lose?
Oh,
like 7?
Yeah, it was a very sort of winning generation, wasn't it? That I was a part of. But look, I think you look at the current team, and that's a joke. They've got the record, the Australian women, of the longest winning streak of any Australian team, I think surpassing Ricky Ponting's team. So, I'm very sort of thankful that I got to play alongside like a Belinda Clark, for example, who led the team so well, set really high standards, and you fell into line. And it was a wonderful time to be a part of the Australian women's team. But then also, as you mentioned, the 10 in a row for the New South Wales Breakers, winning the 50 over domestic comp, that was a wonderful team to be a part of. Lisa Stalaker was captain in the first 5, and then I captained in the next 5 and beyond. We didn't quite get the record. I think St George Dragons they had 11 premierships in a row back in the day, and I'm disappointed we couldn't quite match it with them, but 10 in a row is pretty good.
Never satisfied.
That's
10's
right.
good. I want 11. 12 would have been good.
So turning up for the 11th year and look, we've got to take the Dragons of 66 down now,
Yeah, exactly.
Johnny Raper and Reg Gasnier.
Yeah.
we were very much a disappointment, that team not getting the 11.
Yeah, I'd hate to have come into that team for the 11th. That's a disappointed dressing room. Hey, Alex, so I'm telling you things you already know, but you've written a memoir called Fair Game, and a lot of the reviews of it are exceptional. So, I mean, we're just talking now about your success as a player, but for those who are listening or watching around the world or whatever, the thrust of the book isn't just like a lot of sporting memoirs, which basically are just recollections of winning a lot. Your memoir deals with things far deeper, and I've seen it described, for example, as spiky, and challenging, and that's interesting to me. I think one of the most powerful parts of the book is when you write, and if you mind me quoting, you've said, you'll note in this book that at times I've clearly felt rejected or unwanted in cricket. There are so many experiences from the cricket field that have positively shaped my life, none more so than having the privilege to captain my country in all 3 formats of the game. But upon reflection, I realized it was a difficult experiences I had off the field as a gay woman in the male-dominated and homophobic world of sport, and as someone willing to speak up for what I believed in. That has been the real making of me. And now I reckon there's going to be a swathe of blokes watching and listening to this show. In fact, the analytics are 96%, ashamedly, who might know about this side of cricket. For their benefit and ours, how did those experiences shape you?
Well, I guess, it's a long story, and so you have to get the book from Big W or Demix, where it's weird seeing the book on the shelves. But I guess coming up against an environment, or growing up in an environment which, in subtle ways, told me I wasn't good enough because of my sexuality, and even in Australian society, I mean, being gay was illegal in Tassie till 97, and we just got marriage equality in 2017. So, I guess coming up against those notions of many people see homosexuality as not quite as good, and maybe there's something wrong with that. But internally, being able to reconcile that I don't believe that, and I actually like the person I am, and being able to, I guess, have opportunities to speak up against or speak up with administrators who maybe aren't sort of walking the talk. They want to be inclusive, but I didn't quite see those actions. And so, I had a few moments where I had challenging conversations with administrators. There's a nice juicy story in there about a conversation I had with Eddie Maguire, which turns out to be a highlight of my career. It wasn't, a terrible moment. It was actually, a moment where I was able to challenge him on some of his language and some of his views, and start to lift the conversation to a higher level, that we actually just want more and more people to feel comfortable and safe and enjoy our sport. And I guess, that's what I've advocated for a long time.
Was there a point, Alex, where, sorry, he goes, just to follow up, it must have been difficult to be a young person reconciling how you felt internally with what the state of play was politically in cricket, and the people who had voices of power. And do you remember, was there a moment, I'm sure maybe you describe it in the book, but how did you come to a point where you felt strong enough and steady enough to speak up and to start presenting or representing those views?
Well, I guess to try and summarize it as well, like women in sport have traditionally had to meet a certain mold to be celebrated and be held up as role models, and thankfully that's different now. There's so many different stories out there, and you look at the AFLW and even NRLW, and women look all sorts of different shapes and sizes, and have very different stories. So I guess that's what I was trying to break down, that we had to sort of toe the line or fit a certain mold as a female to be wanted or celebrated in sport. To answer your question, Sam, I think I got to a point where I thought, well, if I'm made to feel less worthy in this sport, and I've been a part of the national team for 10 years, I've captained my country, and I'm starting to feel like this sport would prefer I wasn't a part of it if I was a gay person. I was prepared to walk away, basically. So I could sort of do something about it, speak up, or just say, look, this isn't an environment that wants me, and I don't want to be a part of it either now. So I guess, it got to that point where I thought, well, I could either take it or leave it, basically. And I decided, no, I can speak up. And I think the influential person in my life was Magda Zabansky. The way she spoke up and became out publicly when she was speaking about marriage equality. That had such a powerful impact on me. And I realised I could do that for other people by just simply being myself in all situations.
It's really interesting, Alex. I mean, in the book as well, you talk a lot about Matthew Mott, the coach, towards the end of your international career. And it's really fascinating, that dynamic of the men's coach into the women's national team. And I wonder, like, we were talking before about, was cricket better in the 90s? And of course it was. But, you know, like my observation is the women's game has come on so much, leaps and bounds, you know, more and more people participating in the sport. But there's sort of this final bastion, a little bit of like not enough female coaches, I don't think, coaching women's teams. I mean, how far, I suspect we're probably quite a way away from a woman coaching the men's national team, for instance. But I feel like we're not that far away from having a really impressive female coach coaching our women's national team.
Yeah. No, Ian, it is the next sort of wave that we need to look at, getting more women into coaching roles. I write in the book that I actually enjoyed the fact that we had this influence of the men's game coming into the women's game, because I think it's important that you have different influences leading the national direction or our national team's direction. But I argue that you would never see it in the other way, in the reverse situation. You would never see this leapfrogging of a WBBL coach or a WNCL coach, a woman jumping across, or even a man jumping across from that pathway as a coach into the male coaching pathway. But we see that leapfrogging from the men's system into the women's system, and no one really questions that. But yeah, look, I think overall, my sort of argument in the book is about having diverse influences in that coaching group, whether they're, male or female. I think it's important that they think differently and they have different perspectives and different experiences that they can bring to the table, so that we have that diversity of thought, whether that be in debriefs or the way we prepare for matches. I think that's something that our national teams, well, at least in the women's side of things, you know, we've got Shelley Nitschke, Ben Sawyer and Matthew Mott forming a really good sort of diverse leadership team at the moment, which, you know, I really congratulate the setup for that.
Alex, just on that point, particularly on coaching, there's a great part in your book, not to give too much of it away, where you talk about your cricketing utopia, and it's about that the exercise is to fast forward 20 years, and you outline your utopia of what cricket looks like. And without wanting to simplify it, it's in the spirit of the title of the book, Fair Game. It's about pure equality. That's your vision around money, profile, public regard, all underscored by this collective attitude that this is normal, you know, by everyone, and that's good. And there's a particularly interesting hypothetical image of the Australian men's team in your utopia being put through their paces by Elise Perry, who's head coach, for example, and they're awed in her presence. No one asks any questions. And I just wondered, did you call it a utopia, for example, which is like an imagined place where everything is perfect, because you have reservations about whether something like that is possible? And if that's the case, what do you think the barriers are?
Look, I think it's going to be tough for all of the things that I've imagined to come true. The fact that I advocate for adult women to not be forgotten in the fan base of cricket, that we seem to, for the women's Big Bash League, we're targeting young girls. Well, what about the women? You know, women like being a part of this as well. But Elise Perry coaching the Australian men's test team. Well, if you think about who are our best test cricketers at the moment, you got to put Elise Perry right up there. And I think what, some of the barrier is that it hasn't happened before. It hasn't happened before that a woman has been that level in terms of coaching men. We've had Julia Price be a part of the Brisbane Heat BBL setup. That was impressive. But the men that, and Elise Perry, who's 40, retired, coaching, at that time, those young men would have grown up watching Elise Perry on the TV. So it wouldn't, and as I write, they're in awe of her because they grew up watching this amazing athlete just dominate. And so it would be normal for them to want to learn, well, how did she do it? Because she's our most capped player. She's been number one player in the world for, arguably a decade. Could she be our best ever cricketer? Yes. These young men who are in that test team in 10, 20 years' time, they would have seen the great Elise on TV. And I guess that's one of the barriers that's already been broken down.
We're heading into World Cup, obviously. It starts on Friday, I think. Australia's first game's on Saturday. And I feel like if Australia don't win every game by 10 wickets, it's abject failure. but you played in similar teams which were equally as good and had the same amount of pressure. If Australia don't win the World Cup, it's a bit like, well, that is failure. What's that pressure like? Because this team going into this World Cup in New Zealand must be like, we know that we have to win. Yeah.
And they're not even defending champions, but
I know,
they've got to win. And I agree with you, Ian. I think they've got to smash each team, really. And no disrespect to the opposition. You look at a South Africa and the way they've come up, they're going to make a World Cup final very soon, maybe even this time round. Australia should win and win easy. It is high pressure when you sort of go out there and it ends up being a little bit of relief once you've won, because you've got that expectation every time. So I think it's really important that this group, and under the leadership of Meg and Modi, I'm seeing that evolution to really start embracing that pressure. They did it in 2020 for our home World Cup. There's no greater pressure than that, and they've come through it. So whatever they're doing currently, it is working. And I think they're embracing that pressure and the prestige of playing a World Cup. And that's hard when you're a Meg Lanning and you've played heaps of them. You got to start, making each of them very special, because actually some of the players in that squad will only play one. And they don't come around that often. More often these days. It was better in my day when it was, only once every 4 years. You sort of got that build up and you can't help but get excited about it. But they certainly do have the favourites tag again. We didn't handle that very well in 2017 when we lost the semi-final. And the team will be very hungry to get the 50 over trophy. They've got the T20 one in the cabinet already. So one more, and got the Ashes as well. What more can they do?
It's pretty good.
Just on there, like the question of expectations, Alex, that great polemicist and media commentator Kane Corns the other day. He's not big in sort of New South Wales and Sydney, but he's in AFL circles. He criticised Meg Lanning's captaincy the other day in the last test of the Ashes. And then he also mentioned, this is on Twitter, that the media is scared to objectively analyse for fear it will create fierce backlash from an overly sensitive cohort. To which Izzy Westbury, Elise Perry, Emma Race all came back, welcomed the criticism, but saying it just needs to be informed and in context, and sort of rejected the idea that the cohort was overly sensitive to it. Don't know if you caught that, but like, what do you think about the discourse at the moment around women's cricket when it comes to criticism of the team?
Yeah. Oh, well, I love how Elise Perry's been calling for it for years about, we'll know we've made it when there's the equal level of scrutiny of our national cricket teams, men and women, on the back pages. So, the players are tough enough to get that scrutiny. I think that, the title of my book, Fair Game, I mean, part of that is I wanted to sort of really dig a bit deeper as to why we didn't succeed so much in the last two World Cups I was a part of. I felt there were some shortcomings in our tactical approach, and I've written about that, quite openly. And, some people won't be happy about that, but, I think we need to be considering the selections or the tactics, and, we should be critiquing them. And I'm sure Meg would embrace that as well. You look at that last two overs of that magnificent Ashes Test at Manuka, and you got to think that there's no way Kate Cross was going to go for that, big shot. She was the last wicket. She wasn't going to try for the runs and potentially lose her wicket and therefore lose the Ashes basically for England. So I felt Meg had all the fielders on the boundary, and I'm thinking, what are you doing? Get those fielders in, put more pressure on. And, I was fortunate enough to be commentating at the time and have a platform to be able to talk about those things. But yeah, we should be critiquing both our men's and women's cricket teams, and the players are ready for that.
Oh, great. I love criticism, especially just from afar when you're not really that good at the game like me or in football. No.
What do you think she should have done in that last couple of overs? Were you watching?
I was watching. Yes, I can say that. I agree. I agree with you. And I think that the team, they look, it's a cliche, but it was one of those ones where you've got to be prepared to lose to win a little bit. And I think that they wanted to eliminate the loss first before going for the victory. And I think that cost them a little bit. That's not to say that they don't win a lot though, and that they did end up going on to win the Ashes. And it was a great game. But I agree with you. It would have been good to gamble a little bit more. Alex Blackwell, thank you so much for joining us. Alex's book is called Fair Game. It's obviously, you can tell it's spiky, it's challenging, it's interesting, and it's about things more interesting than just what happens on the field in cricket. It's written with Megan Maurice. It's published by Hachette. Go and grab it. Everyone else is. Alex, thanks so much for joining us.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you sincerely to all of our guests for giving them their time, their thoughts, their brains, and their love, and hopefully their retweets. That's the most important thing.
Unlikely.
We're talking about, we're going to thank Manscaped as well here, mate. Now, when I came back from the States, I had a package at my front door, and there's also some posts. I've
just got an image of of testicles. It was just genital area by itself. That's quite horrific.
Yeah, it was a statue of David, but just sawn off for the package.
It is a package.
But I had ordered that before I left, and it had arrived the day that I returned home. But it was a whole bunch of gear from Manscaped, and I thought, what makes me feel more at home, more comfortable than making my testicles feel safe after a long flight, to be fair. It's a long way back. Long way back here, boys. Fucking hell, that's a problem.
Well, anyway, here goes. Ultra Premium Collection launch, male host. All right. Can I get a round of applause, everyone? You gonna do it or what? It says start clapping. It says start clapping.
Woo!
Thanks.
Yeah.
Today, I'm excited to announce Manscaped launched their Ultra Premium Collection. Believe it or not, it's for your not-so-private parts. I'm talking about a leveled-up hygiene routine with your favourite manly scent. This is an all-in-one skin and hair kit for the everyday man and covers you from head to toe, literally. Manscaped is trusted below the waist. Now trust them with the rest. Join the 4 million men worldwide who trust Manscaped by going to Manscaped.com for 20% off plus free shipping with the code TGC. That's me just talking naturally there. That's how I talk.
Do you want to read the copy now?
Well, we all know how the essential Manscaped Lawnmower 4.0 is for that precise trim below the waist. Their advanced skin-safe technology reduces cuts to your most delicate areas. Look, despite the way that's read in my head, that is, and spoken naturally, I do trust Manscaped, he goes. I took my Manscaped up to the territory, and you do need to scape a little bit more just for humidity reasons.
Yeah. Well, mate, as you know, I was in the States for like 3 weeks, and I took mine with me overseas. I mean, you're moving around, you're moving and shaking.
Yeah.
You're signing deals, you're sealing deals, and you're delivering deals.
Wow.
And you got to be at your best at all times, presentation-wise. I also have an Excel spreadsheet. And a PowerPoint presentation. That's a separate thing, but it's just part of my shtick. And my balls weren't sticking to my leg, let me tell you.
Well, here goes. With all the products that Manscaped has, I'd recommend using them in this order. 1, hop in the shower and scrub-a-dub-dub that body with the Manscaped body wash. 2, lather your hair up with the 2-in-1 shampoo conditioner to keep your noggin toggin. 3, dry off and spray on the hydrating body moisturizer to reinvigorate dry skin. 4, put on the Manscaped deodorant for obvious reasons. 5, pop that Manscaped lip balm on. No one is out here kissing chapped up lips, baby.
That's
and
true.
then getting dressed after is optional. Wear one great scent all day long. Get that ultra premium collection hot off the shelves. Anyway, yeah, get involved. And it's manscaped.com. Use the code TGC. Check out for 20% off plus free shipping.
Hashtag AskTGC, Pez. Here we are. We've made it. It's great to be back. We wanted to just give you a fucking blockbuster to come back. You know, listen to this over, 3-4 different sittings. I mean, we're right at the end of the show now. But, we just wanted to give you, the wonderful people out there, just an offering. It's just an offering.
It's an offering. Take it or leave it.
Nick Carpenter wrote in, Pez, on Patreon. And if you want to, during the break, we had Patreon running the entire time. Patreon.com/Great Cricketer. Of course, we're doing our daily reviews. Will also return. I probably should have said it earlier. But daily reviews will return. That'll be on YouTube. But if you want the exclusive audio, because we don't put that on our podcast feed. But if you just want the audio, if that's how you listen to TGC or consume TGC, patreon.com/Great Cricketer. And you get our daily reviews, 15-20 minutes at the end of every day's play during the test matches. There's 3 test matches, aren't there, against Pakistan? So plenty to talk about. Now, Nick Carpenter wrote in, Pez, on Patreon. He says, Dear AskTGC, I was doing some research into the 90s Black Caps cannabis scandal to see if we won a test match on that tour or not. We did. But during my research, I came across an article interviewing Dion Nash's wife where she said this about him. Now, Pez, first of all, do you know about this 90s Black Caps cannabis scandal?
It now rings a bell. Wasn't Stephen Fleming involved? And at the time, Stephen Fleming was hot, as a cricketer, and I guess he's a rooster too, actually, Steve Fleming.
Yeah, he's a pretty good looking man, yeah.
Yeah. And hot coaching property too.
True. Won the IPL with CSK. But during my research, I came across an article interviewing Dion Nash's wife where she said this about him. When we were dating, we'd be driving somewhere and he'd say, stop, if he saw some kids playing cricket at a park, and he'd get out and play with them. Then he'd bowl full speed at them, hit the bat out of their hands, and I'd be like, do you think you overdid it? And he'd say, oh, no, they really love it when I do that. So a few questions. Is this normal? Do all professional players look for kids' games in their area to bowl full pace at? Is there some sort of the boys situation with bowlers leading children at full pace being covered up by the government and or cricket associations? Is this the skeletons the Black Caps are hiding? Since we've only beaten South Africa 4 times in test matches, and one of those times we had a cannabis scandal, should Kane run a that 70s show style sesh the night before every test match? Cheers, Nick.
I mean, firstly, it's a great bit of research. Thanks, Nick. And look, I think it's very normal, actually, because I think, they say, my favorite ever comedian's Bill Hicks, right? And somebody said about him that the genius of Bill Hicks is that his outer voice matched his inner voice, which is kind of abstract, but it makes sense to me. And I think the same can be said of Dion Nash here, because the inner voice for anyone who can play cricket, especially for an international cricketer, is get out of that fucking car, go onto the field and show them how fast you are and how much you can frighten them. Yeah. And
nothing in their half.
I'm not sure if he's accurate when he says the kids love it. But maybe they do. Maybe they do on some level. So I think firstly it's normal, and I'd like to see more of it. Do all professional players look for kids' games in the area to bowl full pace at? I mean, I can't really answer that question.
I sort of can. I'm just thinking about Brett Lee playing with his nephews.
Oh,
that was just on the street.
Mate, I watched that footage many times just to see.
Yeah.
He was putting a bit of footage up as well because he was in the nets with a mate later on. And the ball still...
It was quick enough.
This ball comes out of his hand faster than it looks like his body's going. Like normally, you can you pick up cues. But the way he knocked over his nephew, was it? It was fucking rapid. It was really quick. Yeah.
Yeah.
He really beat him for
not
pace,
sure what
truly. Like the way it got
Turns out
through,
Brett Lee fast.
the way it got through his nephew indicated to me that he'd set him up in the balls prior. Like it looked like
Like a couple of carrots, and
we were talking about Neil Maxwell before. Maxie was the he was like the king of our club, and he was captain of first grade. He'd played state cricket, and he taught everyone how to play as well. He was really big on reading the game, and it was a great education when you were. He was fine, It was a great education when you were around him. But I distinctly remember him in the nets. Like he would take young bowlers and. He would always say you should always bowl at 90% or 95% so that not only do you have a change down, but you have a change up. You can always bowl a faster ball. You should never bowl 100%. And I just got the impression that was a strategy Brett Lee was taking to bowling to his nephew there. He just looked like he just came out a bit quicker at the same arm speed, and he just put a bit more behind it, and that's what kind of did him.
Yeah, because we saw that a fair bit in the Ashes, didn't we? Because we saw Ollie Robinson come in with just some offies. So,
he really had to change up after that, but did he?
But it was quite a giveaway when the keeper started to go back a bit. So it wasn't really the element of surprise that he might have otherwise had. That's some fucking real under 10 shit, which is what the Ashes actually was for the most part. Pez, I think that'll do it. There. Thank you very much for the question, Nick. And I think, yes, the answer is there's definitely some skeleton stuff. No question about that. Thank you very much to Alex Blackwell. Thank you very much to Travis Head. Thank you very much to Waqar Younis. That's another legend on the show, man. That's a fucking great get.
Big.
Well done.
It's big.
Thank you, everyone, for your messages during our time. We've taken a couple of weeks off. Thanks for coming back and watching and listening. And we'll be back next week, and maybe for every single week forevermore, because cricket, it just never stops. We'll see you guys next week.